Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
I'm Janice Baker. Where do the bees go in the winter?
Yeah, where do they go? And what happens to your life when you discover you have Parkinson's disease? That and more in this week's episode of Our Time.
And here we are.
That was a very good line, Janice. I just want to compliment you. Because I've often had that question in my mind. What happens to flies, or things, insects, like flies, even though I'm wearing one, and bees, particularly in the winter?
Well, we have a doctor that can help us. A doctor in the house.
A bee doctor?
Dr. Katya Hogendoorn. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Doctor, and I hope I did that correctly.
Katya, thanks for coming in, because it's a really interesting subject.
Yeah, it is. It's been my passion for 40 odd years now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And why? What drew you to bees?
Oh, the fascination. Yeah, no, not that.
No.
The fascination. I was fascinated by honeybees and how you could get to a situation where you have a queen that produces all the eggs and workers that are individuals of themselves that only purpose is to help the queen. And so I started off studying honeybees, and then I thought, but when I want to understand how that came about, I have to study more primitively social bees.
So there are all sorts of bees.
All sorts of bees, yes.
So originally you were from Holland.
Yes.
I mean, stupid question, but of course there are bees in Holland, aren't there? Because there are bees everywhere.
Yes, but not as many as in Australia.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, there's about 300 in Holland and 300 in and around Adelaide, but around 2,000 in Australia, and we haven't even discovered them all.
No, and isn't there one species of bee, or is it, no, it would be a bee, on Kangaroo Island that is only on Kangaroo Island?
Yeah.
No, because I was talking to somebody recently, it came up
They
about
went
the
for
honey.
holidays.
The honey that they produce is something really special.
Yes, the honey is something really special. It's more related to the plants that are on Kangaroo Island than to the bees that are on Kangaroo Island, because the bees are just honeybees.
Yeah.
And they say they are Ligurian, but there is some scientific discussion about that.
What does that
not
mean?
really-
They say they're Ligurian?
They say that the Ligurian bees and pure Ligurian bees occur nowhere else in the world.
That's their brand.
That's
so
their
to
brand,
speak.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the reason that we're talking to you, apart from talking about bees, because we all know bees make honey, which is their food, isn't it, to feed their young?
Yes.
Of course. And we steal it.
Yes.
It's nice.
Well,
Yeah.
it is.
But
And
there
it's
is,
very good for you.
well, there is a real issue, though, if bees are affected by other climate changing things or other creatures that are preying on them or whatever, that our fruit and our plant and
Everything's
vegetables,
affected?
everything is going to be affected because pollination won't occur.
Yes. Now, honeybees are the main crop pollinators, of course, but honeybees are by far not the only bee species there is. Honeybees are introduced in Australia. They've been introduced in the 1820s.
Where from? English?
From Europe. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they've spread everywhere. And they're helped by eucalypts that are flowering and produce lots of nectar, and by the many tree hollows that we have. And so they use those.
So they're looking for that for hives?
Yes.
Because I guess we think of hives being man-made hives, don't we?
Yeah. But I think most honeybees, especially in Adelaide, nest in eucalypts and are wild.
All sorts of places, because we have a beach house and we have had a bee problem. They come into between the floor and the ceiling. Oh, okay. And it's a pole frame house. Yeah. So they've come in, and there's this massive nest of bees. Yeah. And we're trying to get rid of them. My husband was drilling a hole to put some powder down into the floor, and there was honey coming back on the drill. Oh. So we have our own.
Put a straw down.
I know. We have our own beehive there as part of the house. Bizarre, but I mean, they do find places that they just want to produce.
Yes, they do find places, lots of places.
Well,
houses.
That's something we can show, but one of the reasons we've had you on having you on the program is because of an incentive with several councils here in South Australia, particularly in Adelaide, the Adelaide City Council in particular, to put bee hotels throughout the city and suburbs.
Yeah, so bee hotels are for native bees. They're not for honeybees. Honeybees make big hives. Native bees are solitary. And so they're individuals doing their own thing. And so they only use very small nests. They don't.
Do you know, it's funny, I thought all bees did the same thing.
Yeah, well, I did too. So if they're not a honeybee, what do they actually do?
Well, they collect pollen and nectar.
And transfer
and
it.
take that to their nest.
Yeah.
Sometimes that nest is in a bee hotel. And then they put an egg on it and they close the little room that they've put all that pollen and nectar in, and they make a next one and a next one, and the egg hatches, the larva comes out, the larva eats all the pollen that is supplied by the mother,
right.
and then it can either develop or...
So they don't actually make honey to feed the young,
no.
It's just the raw pollen.
Yeah, and nectar. And
the nectar.
Yeah.
I never knew that in that term.
No.
But they're still
We've
very
learned something.
important because if
Yeah.
you think about it,
Of course.
all those native bees were here for millions of years.
Yeah.
And the honeybees were introduced in the 1800s. So before the honeybees came in, the native bees did a lot of our pollination.
Clearly,
Isn't that
because of all the gum
amazing?
trees, yes. But we can make our own ant hotels.
Ant hotel, bee hotel.
Well, that too.
Well, that too.
Yes, sorry, I used to have ant farms as a child. So what's interesting about this piece of wood is it's got a pattern of holes drilled on it.
Yeah.
And perhaps you could just explain, there's these little holes up here. What's happening in those little holes?
So the holes have been drilled about 10 centimeters in, and they are very smooth inside. So you have to drill very straight and several times. It's best to use a drill press.
Right.
And it is not pine, so it's hard work.
Hardwood, yeah.
To make a bee hotel, it's
Yes.
hard work.
Because it looks like a eucalypt.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of work to make that. But the hole you are pointing at has a resin bee in it. And resin bees come in all sizes. They come quite big, and this is a small resin bee.
Right.
And it's been
That's
closing,
these holes at the top here that
yeah,
we're talking
the second
about.
one. It closes the nest using sap from the tree.
That's that one there that my finger's
Yeah,
just over.
yeah.
But these white holes down here,
That's a different.
what's the
They-
difference there?
Oh, they have been made by masked bees. And masked bees, they are very special. They don't have hairs like most bees have. They collect pollen by grazing it, and then they take it back to the nest. But the cellophane that you see there, they made with their own glands. So it's
So
their
they
own.
made cellophane.
They made a sort of cellophane, yeah.
How extraordinary.
amazing.
But,
Close
well,
it.
that's one way that's
Yeah.
probably more complicated. But this is probably easier. Even a young person could make one of these.
Yeah, yeah. A young person can make
So
one of these.
basically, all this is a series of pieces of bamboo like this that are just cut up.
Different
Obviously,
sizes.
not leaving the what do you call
Leaving the node.
it? The node.
That's important because the bees
need to have an end.
Need to have an end.
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Closed end.
So all of these, you can see that there's a node at the end of all of these little bits of
Bamboo.
bamboo, thank you. And that's why they're all different lengths, of course.
Yeah.
But this end, and this is really important that you were pointing out to us before, this is quite smooth, this end,
Yeah.
because you don't want the bees hurting themselves on the way in.
No.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but I can see them. It's common sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
So that's a really simple exercise that anyone could do. And this little stick here is just to make sure that there's no obstruction inside.
Yeah. So you clean it out a bit with a satay stick or a knitting needle or anything you have really.
So
Yeah.
where would you put that? Like Janice was asking before, where would you
Yes,
put
where-
these?
I put these in the shade. So I have got them under my carport. I've got a little ledge there and there's several things standing there. I don't put a lot of them together. I put different things and then I put some somewhere else as well. Why? Because they also attract a lot of parasites.
Right.
And that's not bad in itself because those parasites have a right to live. But,
course.
but if you like bees, then...
Well, see, I had no idea there was so many different types. We've got some photographs here of some bees. We'll just run through quickly
Yes.
to give us an idea of what's happening here.
Yeah. So this is an example of a bee that nests in the ground. And what you see there is a pupa and the larva. And so about half, and here two pupae, and about half of the pupae of the bees in Australia nest in the ground. So if you want ground nesting bees, which are really good crop pollinators often, you should not mulch everything over. You should leave some bare soil.
Right.
Because
So that they can make their
have
nest.
access. And this is a larva of a blue-banded bee. Now, many people have heard of blue-banded bees. Blue-banded bees are buzzing bees that go very fast.
They're just
especially when
showing a
it's
whole lot
hot.
of these fairly quickly.
This is an egg with pollen and nectar from.
Oh,
from
right.
Yeah, from a ground nesting bee again, and this is the egg from a blue-banded bee. So it nests in clay and digs its own nest. And this is a beautiful one. This is the wasp mimic bee. It's quite common in bee hotels.
It's a beautiful bee.
Yes.
But
And
see,
it's
I
big.
would have thought that was a wasp because of the shape of its tail.
Absolutely, but it looks much more dangerous than it is.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, worry.
Part of this story is don't be afraid of bees. They're not really looking to sting you. It's only when
No.
you threaten them, really, isn't it?
And do something for bees, like make a bee hotel, but more importantly, plant bee food in your garden.
And bee food is...
Flowers, white, yellow, blue. Make sure there's always several flowers flowering in your garden. Then you get bees.
And
They
gum
might
trees.
stay in the garden instead of coming into my house.
Well, I'm more concerned about the fruit trees being pollinated so we have fruit.
Yes.
And particularly in the city when we have all of that. It's
Yeah.
very important.
Very important.
Thank you very much for coming and talking to us about that.
Really interesting. Thank
And
you so much.
we'd be keen to talk to you again when this has been rolled out and
Yes.
see what the result of all of this
Yeah,
has been.
because we're building 8 bee hotels along Linear Park, which is quite spectacular. So everybody will have a chance to get to know native bees.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And we'll be back in a moment with Ray Goldie with a really interesting story.
We're back.
We are with Ray Goldie. Ray, welcome to our time.
Thank you very much. A pleasure, and thanks for inviting me to come and talk on your
It's
show.
lovely to see you. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so it's
Well,
very nice
it
to
would be
catch
a few
up.
decades. It's me, yeah, it would be
A few
indeed.
decades. I love that.
Ray came to my wedding.
Did he?
You
Yes.
did, didn't you?
And you're still married?
I am.
I was not responsible for anything.
No, I've known Ray for 40-something years now, and because we used to be business partners, didn't we?
Indeed, and a lot of fun it was too.
It was. But why were we business partners, Raymond?
Well, I had an opportunity to bring the Johnny Young Talent School. People remember In Time and Johnny Young. When that was at its height as a program, they set up schools in each of the cities to work with young children between 5 and 16 to teach them singing, dancing and drama. It wasn't to make them stars, although there was that possibility for those to go on in the show. It was about building the self-esteem of young people. And we ran that, and Malcolm was involved with it with me as well, and eventually became the school.
Yes.
And kept it going as 5 years. But at its height, we had about 1,000 people a week going through.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was very
amazing.
successful.
It's 40 years old this year.
40
Yeah,
years.
about now. It's 40 years old,
Fantastic.
amazingly so. And we've certainly stimulated the potential for people who are working all over the world. That's what Facebook has given us that information back, which is lovely. But that's not what we're here to talk about, Ray. But you went on to a whole lot of other things, a lot of business opportunities and many things until back in the, 2011, you discovered you had
2011, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Probably, in retrospect, the symptoms started back in 2007, 2008. But with Parkinson's, it's in fact very difficult to diagnose. And for example, I was doing my research. I come up with 30 different symptoms that you might have if you've got Parkinson's. But people don't have all of those. Someone
No,
might
everyone's the same,
Have a
so-
problem with the tremor. Someone else with walking. Someone else with maybe saliva in their mouth or whatever. And they have different for everybody. It's different whether with Parkinson's. So I was officially diagnosed, and I've been 7 years with Parkinson's disease.
And your hands don't shake, and that's...
No, you don't.
No, I was very fortunate that amongst the symptoms, that wasn't one thing that...
Because that's what most people would say. If you had Parkinson's, they'd expect you to be like this, wouldn't they?
They would, and in fact it's not, but it's the one that's noticeable.
The one that's noticeable.
Well, there you go. But I've got two very good friends also that have been diagnosed in the last couple of years. But it was actually noticeable when we were out to dinner because they would be concentrating on their food and not trying to mess it up. You know, the first one, and then we sort of picked it up with the second one because he was doing exactly what the first one did. So, and they are similar, obviously very similar. No tremors, but it was the concentration that just trying to get it right.
So, and of course, so there's what you don't see, because it's also playing around with your mind and kind of I missed the word, playing around with your mind and making that difficult. So a lot of things that's happening with people, depression, anxiety, these are the things that go with it. You don't actually see that's going back in the background. That some, again, not all, of Parkinson's disease or people that are living with Parkinson's have to deal with every day.
And you've just said the magic phrase, I guess, living with Parkinson.
Yes, and people say you've got Parkinson's disease. I say I'm living with Parkinson's. Because when this happened, I'll tell you the story about, I go to see the neurologist. He says, Ray, yes, you've got Parkinson's disease. I go, oh, good, thanks very much. He says, now, I'll tell you what's going to happen. He said, for about 5 years, you'll have stable health. Then after 5 years, it'll deteriorate. Then you have 5 years of, again, of parallel being okay. Then you'll deteriorate, and so on and so on and so on. And that's all we can do. We'll give you some tablets. And I'm going, no way.
Is that right?
No way am I going to sit here and let this thing overrun me.
Yeah.
I'll go out and do some research. Not that I doubted what the doctors or the neurologists were saying. I thought there's got to be more to it, more than I can do. It's my body, so it's my responsibility. So I got my best friend, Mr. Google and Mr. YouTube, and started doing some research around the whole topic, and came to a point of the blinding flash of the obvious of how you can best manage your various things that are occurring for you for Parkinson's. Very I speak to you now. You know, sometimes I'll stumble on a word because it's a bit slower for that word to catch up when I'm talking. So not noticeable most of the time, but noticeable sometimes. Anyway, I do this research, and I get to this part of it, and I go, "It's that. Really, that's what it's about. It's about being healthy." What does that mean? The thing is, if you're going to combat all these different symptoms, or whichever that you have, whichever ones you're going to be, the thing is, if you do look after 4 areas, one is first your diet. So, by the way, there's nothing new I'm going to be saying here. This is good. This is the usual
Just obvious stuff.
Obvious stuff, indeed. That's what I'm trying to say. So, your health, nutritious and healthy diet. And there's no special diet. Don't people tell you there's special diet or whatever to do. It's whatever works for you. Whether you love Mediterranean food or you love 2, 3 veggies and 4 veggies and 3 meats or whatever it is, as long as it's healthy and working for you, then that's the important part. And it's really important to have your health right. The second one, and the one that's really worked for me and made so much difference in terms of my ability to even move about and to do whatever, was to go to the gym. Now, the flag goes up first, go to the gym. Not for me, no.
Not something that you're used to?
But I go 2 times a week to the gym, and 1 time a week I go to shadow boxing.
Is that right?
Now, why shadow boxing? Because actually as a sport, I hate boxing. Wouldn't want to know about it. But the exercises they put you through in shadow boxing are excellent for people that have got Parkinson's.
So is it the coordination?
It's a coordination, the remembering of each of the moves. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on at different levels as he's doing it. But it's not only boxing, so don't race out and buy your boxing gloves if you're against it, because the other things that are good for people with Parkinson's is Tai Chi, dancing, riding a bicycle is good. And a lot of people who can hardly get around can get on a bicycle and ride perfectly well, and same with dancing. So there's many things you can do, depending what best suits for your condition, your age, what you're physically able to do, what you're mentally able to do. There's lots of choices, so but to keep the fitness up. And none of this stuff of saying, oh, but I walk the dog every day, or I do a bit out in the garden that keeps me healthy. It will keep it up, wonderful, keep doing it, but you need to do more than that.
Yes.
You know, most say at least 3 times a week for 40 minutes or 20 minutes if you want to take that road.
Yeah, one of these friends actually is a cyclist, a keen cyclist,
right.
but not really enjoying being out on the road, a little bit more sort of afraid of being... just lost his confidence. So, but you can get a stand for your bike and you put it up in the lounge room or wherever, and you can still cycle for 20, 30
Get
minutes
a big screen TV and watch the Garn trip across Australia. There you go. You
or follow the Tour de France.
Yes,
or the Tour Down Under.
No, you could be no, that's the film that goes for 12 hours or whatever it is, for the whole length of the Garn. There's a camera up the front and pedal on the track. Sorry, nothing to do with that.
Or something else.
Or something else, yes. Or something else.
The third thing in this stuff is then in your mind. We talked about the things that we all see in each other, but we don't see what's going on in their head. I've been through a couple of small bouts of depression and luckily fought that off on the way through. But it is one, and anxiety is another one. Because like when my voice first started to change, I got to the point I got anxious because sometimes I would speak and nothing would come out. Now I've worked on my voice, and while it's not perfect, I now have this lovely husky voice.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, but I would.
You should come to my vocal lessons.
So it's about keeping the mind active, and you people out there that are doing crosswords, what have you, keep on doing it. It's fantastic. But look for more to do. Get in with a volunteer group. Have a family project, do something you've got to work on and to use your mind and to get that going, most important. And fourth, I talk about having spirit. So maintaining your spirit and self-esteem. You have a lot of power and you're in charge of your body. And the healthier you make it, the better position you'll be in to fight off or deal with or to manage whatever it is for you for any symptoms you have from Parkinson's. So what it's about having good health. All you can do is be as healthy as you can probably be, and that will slow down the process for many people with many things, remembering everybody's different on how they go. So that's been my great research came to, the common sense.
But you're also making the point, you're not a health professional, you're not a specialist in this area, you're just a person with Parkinson's, and you've looked for ways to help yourself.
Exactly. It's absolutely true. It's about my experience. I can't say anything. So I suggest to people they go and talk to their GP or the neurologist if they want to change what they're doing. You know, for medication, most people take some. I take a very, very, very low dose. But again, it's different for everybody into what it is. The point is do something. Get out, get involved, get yourself working on...
Just keep moving.
Yes.
Working on yourself.
And probably last and most importantly for people that aren't sufferers, do you have pain? Do you have confusion? What do you have? What do you feel?
Well, you can have all of those things. One of the first things for most people usually is their muscles will get all rigid and they'll feel that and they'll feel tight, hard to turn their neck. That's an obvious one. The tremor we talked about shows up. Confusion comes up a lot. Or doubt about the future would be more the point. Yes, people get anxious about what am I going to be like, you know, what pressure will this put on my family or friends or who will look after me or whatever it may be. And it might not even be anywhere near that bad at this point of this time.
Just hold that thought, Ray. We've got to go for a break, but we'll be back in a moment. We'll find out a little more about bees and a little bit more from Ray. We're back with Katya and with Ray.
Yes.
Ray, final message for people that may be concerned that this is happening to them?
Get yourself healthy. Get as healthy as you possibly can be. That's the thing to do, and everything else will take its course and make it easier for you in the future.
So like you said, though, go to the doctor, get the doctor's opinion, and then do a bit of research yourself. Yes,
indeed. Talk to your doctor, your GP, your physio, whoever it is, and what you're telling one, tell the other so they're all getting the same story. Make them a medical team.
Yep.
Great, good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Katya, we were talking about the bee homes. Where's the best place to keep them? If you don't have a house and you only have an apartment, where would you put one of those, as we showed before?
You can put them on your balcony or on an eave, and you can put some plants next to it, and they will forage in the area. So we'll also use the gardens downstairs and everywhere. And
so they're looking for somewhere to go, is what you're really saying?
They are looking for hollows to nest in, and they prefer the shade.
Right. But if you're on a regular block, like a regular housing block in the suburbs, if you put them too close to your house and you had children, there might be a concern about, you know, children being stung by bees that are coming in the house.
No, they're a fantastic educational tool. So children can look at them, they can see them flying in and out, they can understand that they need pollen because they can see it on their legs, and they are not aggressive at all. You have to teach your children not to poke their
I was
finger in
about
the
to
hole.
say that. Don't poke or stick anything in the holes.
That also is a good thing to learn.
Yeah.
See,
Yes,
you're
definitely.
from Hull, and I keep thinking about singing the songs of the little boy who poked his finger in the dike so the water couldn't run out, and that's not even true. So we hope this advice is better advice than we were given as
that's
children.
right.
And put them a bit off the ground as well,
Okay.
not on the ground, a bit higher so that the tiny children cannot even reach them.
Yeah.
Great advice. Thanks
you
to
go.
both of you
Thank
for being part of our time.
Been a
And
pleasure.
it's time for us to go, Janice.
It is. Until the next time.
Keep yourselves nice till then.